You're good.
So one of the things that Dave and I have been doing the last couple of years that we, for some reason, have never filmed and shared is we make our own homemade stock, which you can then use to make soups and things like that. We're huge crock pot people, and so we wanted to walk you through the process of how we do this. So this is, I would call this step 2. Step 1 was what we did last night, which was we took a whole chicken.
How big was it? About 3-4 pounds? 5 pounds?
About 5 pounds, I think. It was slightly bigger than the last one. So we took a 5-pound chicken and thawed it and then rinsed it off and then rubbed it with a combination of a little bit of olive oil and then half of a lemon, the juice of half a lemon squeezed into it, and then we threw the lemon in the crock pot. Salt, pepper, oregano, basil, and then this particular Organic Aloha chicken and pork rub.
Where do we get that?
Aloha, yes, Aloha Spice Company.
Cool.
But there was a gift from my brother and his wife for Christmas.
I want to point out one thing too. I don't want to interrupt you, but that is not actually thyme, lemon, and
No.
what is that? Does that say?
And bay.
Bay, sea salt.
It's
just black pepper.
Yeah.
But we reuse it because it's got a grinder on it.
And then we threw the chicken in on top of a half of a red onion and a couple of cloves of garlic. And then we just threw it on low it was on low for about 10 hours, which is probably a little longer than you want to do it, but we just did it overnight. So now if you look in here.
There was some butter in there too, right?
Yes, I did throw it. Thank you. I did throw butter in there. So this is what it looks like now, because literally it was a whole chicken. But as soon as I got up this morning, I went at it with a fork and it all just fell apart. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to pull almost all of the meat out of here, but we're going to leave the skin, the bones, all that kind of stuff, and then a little bit of the meat and the fat. And then we'll come back and we'll show you what we add to it to actually start the stock.
The stock takes about 48 hours for us in a slow cooker.
Yes.
Or, excuse me, a crock pot. But yeah.
So you will see us back in just a second doing that.
All right.
You recorded that, didn't you?
I did record that.
You stinker.
Take 2.
Take the chicken off the bone. So this is what we ended up with. This is chicken that we will use later in our soup, but also probably in things like tacos. Yum, tacos. And this is what we were left with. So Dave threw in a couple of tomatoes, which you see I've already broken down. But this is what we have. We have bones, we have skin, we have the remnants of fresh rosemary and thyme, and then just all the fat and gristle and some meat and all the good stuff that's going to make the stock really, really yummy. So what you want to do is you want to start breaking this down even more. So what we're going to do is we're going to add water, but we're also going to add a bunch of other things that will add to the flavor profile. So kind of walk you through all of the options we have here. These are things that we've used in the past. White vinegar is something new. In the past, we've used balsamic, but since this is poultry, I was thinking white vinegar might be fun.
Sure.
And we have currently our bottle of wine that's open is red. So there you go. We got red and white. And then you have spices, basil, oregano, our black pepper blend. I always like to throw in a little bit of fun. So a little smoked paprika or pimenton. And then this is just chili that was given to us by friends. So we throw that in there. And then a little pink peppercorn oil.
That stuff is super potent
yes,
too.
Yes, super potent. So there'll be like 2 drops.
Yeah, if you use that, be careful.
And then we have some, this is really cool, smoked serrano sea salt. So that adds a bit of smoky flavor to it. And then we have more of the rub that we showed you the first time. We throw some more of that in there just to increase the flavor. And then we throw in a bunch of really good Redmond salt. It's Utah salt and has lots of minerals in it. So it adds to all of the good flavors and gives a little health. So we'll start by tossing in the water.
This is super hot water. Well, as hot as I could get it out of the sink.
Right.
Don't want to pour cold water in your
No.
hot crock pot.
No, and look at that. All of that, and it's only halfway.
Yeah, we're going to reduce that down probably a couple times.
Yes, exactly. But now all I'm going to do is just, and this is all by feel, and you need to do the same thing. You need to do things by feel and how your taste and flavor profile goes. So this is a 10-year-old Tempranillo. We like Spanish and Portuguese wine in this house, so we did a Tempranillo. Someone else may like Cab Sauv. They may only like white wine. That's none of my business. It's all what you like. This needs to be opened, so we'll put that in later. Now, I'll just throw in a bunch of basil. And again, because we're going to be reducing this down several times, initial quantities aren't, that's just not our jam.
Yeah, we just taste it as we go.
So I happen to love pepper, so a lot of pepper goes into the stock. That's just my thing.
Hence the pepper oil,
Yes,
et cetera.
and so I'm going to be very careful. And just a couple of drops. Whoa, you can smell it. Like, this is pink peppercorns. It's not even the most potent, and it's out here, and it's like, woo, right up my nose.
Yeah.
And then smoked paprika. Paprika is really good with chicken anyway, and smoked paprika just gives it a little more depth. So I'm going to toss some of the smoked paprika in there. And then a little bit of the chili. I'm so excited about this because this was just a gift and we don't use a lot of it, but when we do use it, it really just provides complexity, I guess is a good way to put it.
A little bit of depth.
Yeah, and then we'll add the smoked serrano. I usually like to just do a generous pinch. And do you want to talk a little bit about how important salt is to a stock?
Yeah, salt and sugar. I mean, you're gonna actually flavor it per, to taste, but salt and sugar is relatively important when you're doing a stock, depending on what kind of stock you're doing. If it's a vegetable broth, if it's red meat, if it's poultry, whatever. Salt's important. Brings out a lot of the flavors. And later, once we reduce this down and get more of everything broken down, we'll add some vegetables as well, so we get some of the flavors from peppers and celeries and onions and bok choy. There's already onion and garlic in there.
Yes.
It's like almost a whole onion that's kind of cooked down as
it literally disintegrated.
yeah, with the chicken. So
there we go. This stuff is so awesome.
It's kind of, you can look it up online. It's kind of hard to mess up a stock. You can burn it. Don't do that. That's why we use a slow cooker and just do everything on low.
And that was the one thing I forgot to mention. So thank you, babe, for reminding me. You always want to throw a little sugar in here.
Yeah, I mean, again, that's kind of per stock. I don't want to say you always have to do it, but we do.
But what's the reason for that?
Depends on what you're going for. Like in terms of the meat, the sugar is going to help break down meat, but it's also going to help hydrate it. It's like when you do a brine. Like if you've ever done a turkey brine, a lot of times it's sugar and salt in solution to help draw the liquids out of the turkey, but then also help liquids permeate the skin. We use sugar in our stocks because it does affect the flavor, which is nice. We don't use a lot.
No, and in fact, even that was coconut sugar.
Yeah, so it's low glycemic, but it adds a nice flavor. It's a little bit more complex, I think.
Yeah,
you can add honey. You can do molasses. We've done brown sugar, white sugar, coconut sugar. But we like our stocks to be as complex as we can make them without screwing them up. And then we just freeze them. And then when we want to do a soup, we have all these different types of stocks that we can use. And if you've never made your own stock, I mean, don't throw away all the bones and the cartilage and the skin.
It's the best part.
Just make a quick stock. I mean, we'll do this for about 2 days. We'll spend on this one. And it is so worth it when you go to make your stew. Oh my gosh.
Super
It's like when we started using stocks, we haven't gone back.
No.
We actually have our friends, George and Betsy, and we trade stocks with them because they do a type and we do a type. We'll spend days making one. I don't know how they make theirs, but theirs is great too. Ours are always dark.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of wine, there's a lot of acid, there's sugar, veggies that we do in there. And theirs kind of come to us a little bit brighter, I would say. But yeah.
And I want to address what you were saying, the low glycemic sugar. So we've switched from traditional either white refined or turbinado sugar. We've actually switched to coconut sugar. And that's because it is lower glycemic. We're trying to watch our health and we're trying to curb our desire for sugar a little bit. But what's really nice about this is it tastes like brown sugar.
Yeah.
So
it's
you
super
can use it to sweeten like a sugar, but it's just not gonna.
Yeah, I'll show you guys the
numbers
bag
off.
later.
Yeah. And so that's it. So
That's
right
gonna
now,
get us started. We'll probably double the amount of water that's in there and just
Yes.
kind of, we're just trying to focus on getting the heat up and breaking down the bones, the marrow, the cartilage, the skin, all that kind of fun stuff.
So now all we'll do is we'll add some more water, and if I can get this vinegar open, there we go.
Little acid.
Yes,
There's also lemon juice in there. That was from when the chicken
Mm-hmm.
was going. So just trust us that there's going to be some vinegar in there.
Yes, because apparently
we'll be back in a bit.
the vinegar is fighting me.
Day 2.
You wish you had smell-o-vision right now. Trust me.
This was full of water last night. We filled it almost all the way to the top, and we left it on low all night long. And it's looking and smelling awesome. So now we just need to add the flavoring.
Yes.
And the flavoring minus the chicken is going to be our vegetables.
Yay, veggies.
So we wanted that to go all night because we wanted to make sure that we got as much out of the chicken and the bones and the cartilage and the skin and all that fun stuff as possible. So the vegetables that we will be using this time, normally we would use like carrots, but we're not gonna be, we're kind of doing a little bit of keto, kind of, sort of.
It just, we're using the lower carb options of the veggies.
Yeah, so we have some Bok Choy, which is awesome. It has a little bit of an, if you've never used it, it's got the consistency of celery, but it tastes a little more oniony. We do have some celery.
And also celery.
And I love the heart of celery, you know, with the leaves. That actually adds a really good flavor. We're going to try a beet this time. I never put a beet in a stock before, but why not? They have good flavor. They're nice and earthy.
And that's the only thing that's not strictly low carb.
Right, yeah. Some peppers, some mushrooms. We're going to use a whole head of garlic here and probably another onion. And what's really cool about that is you don't even need to peel the onion or the garlic or anything like that when you're doing a stock. And we're not going to roast these vegetables either. You can do that to get a little bit more color on them and a little bit more flavor, but we're not going to roast them. We're just going to chop them up and add them right to the stock.
Yes.
One little tip when you're doing a stock is if you're chopping up your garlic, this is all you need. Just cut it right in half. You don't need to peel it, throw the skin in there and everything. Same thing with your onion. You don't have to peel it. Toss it all in there just like that. Don't even mess with it. I'm going to chop that up a little bit more. But yeah, you don't have to worry about peeling your vegetables when you're doing a stock because you're going to strain it out anyway. All right, so there's everything chopped up. I'm only using about half of the mushrooms that we bought because we're going to saute those up tonight for dinner. But chopped up everything. We used just about all of it, even the beetroot. If you looked at the photos that just zoomed by, the leaves of the beetroot, which are actually pretty tasty. And normally I would skin it, but this time I didn't. So we're just going to try that with the skin on. So now we're just going to add that to the stock, and we're good to go for another 24 hours. All right, now that we have everything added, I'm filming this by myself, so I'm having to do it in little sections. But now that we have everything added, we'll just give it a good stir. Keep it on low. And we're gonna go all night with this bad boy. So another probably 24 hours or so. And a lot of water is gonna come out of those vegetables. So I expect to come back in here in a little bit. And this will be a little bit more liquidy. So there's everything added, stirred up, but I added a little bit more water, about 1 inch from the top here. Again, we're gonna keep it on low. And we're gonna let this go for about 24 hours. And those vegetables, most of them will almost disintegrate. And we're gonna run them through a fine mesh strainer, so we'll get a lot of the solids out. And I know that seems like a lot of a waste of vegetables, but you'd be surprised how much or how little you actually end up with in regards to solids. You know, obviously there's gonna be some bones and things like that, but these will basically disintegrate in about 24 hours, and they make an amazing, they add a really good flavor and amazing taste to your stock. So here we go. We'll go for 24 hours and we'll see you in a couple seconds. All right. So how many days have we been doing this now?
A couple, at least. Wait.
At least 2 days, right? It's been 48 hours,
Oh, yeah.
roughly. All right.
Yay!
So, as you can see, it looks more like a stew, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's been going. We've been adding water. We've been adding spices and herbs, all that kind of fun stuff. So for our stock, we want to get rid of all those bones and what's left over, the fiber and everything from the veggies and the spices and all that we just want to filter all this out. So the first thing we're just going to do is strain it through a relatively open strainer. It's not too fine. We're going to let this go for a bit, and then we're going to strain it again through a much more fine, strainer, like cheesecloth. We have also another metal strainer that's really, really good. See all the bones in there? But yeah, this has been going for about 2 days. It smells amazing. Our house is I don't remember the last time our house smelled this good for so long.
You can say, oh gosh, it just steamed up. Steamed up the camera. Sorry, guys.
But yeah, so we're gonna strain this, let it sit here for a while, and then we will come back and we will do it again to get our master stock.
Yum.
And we'll see you in a second. All right, that's our first round of straining. And we have a much more fine mesh that we're gonna strain through now. And I think we have about 2.5, 3 quarts there, somewhere around there. It's a decent amount. Mm-hmm. So we're going to run this again. Didn't end up with too much that time.
That's good. But you can see there is definitely still some stuff straining out there, for sure.
And we're not going to run this through cheesecloth.
Yeah, this is actually going to be enough.
Considering we mostly just make stews anyway with the stock.
Right.
So it doesn't have to be and that's also why we didn't siphon off the fat. We didn't worry about, like, if it was clear. If you're making a really nice stock, yeah, you kind of want it clear, but we didn't really worry about it. We went more for taste than look. I mean, it really, that's not the prettiest thing to look at, right? But it tastes amazing.
Actually, this looks pretty good. Not that part, but if I shoot underneath the mesh, the actual stuff underneath it's obvious that there's a lot of yum in there.
Yeah, and that's the last time we're going to strain it. So now we're going to put it in freezer safe Tupperware, I guess, for lack of a better word. And we divvy it up into smaller amounts, and we're going to share some with our neighbors. And there we go. That's enough stock for us to do quite a few stews.
Yes.
Really, because it only takes a cup or two to add to your stew to really make it pop, especially if you're going for that umami kind of flavor. This is more of a master stock than a, like, say, straight up chicken stock. It's got a whole lot of everything going on in it. So. And it's super tasty.
It's chicken and veggie.
It couldn't be easier to do either. I mean, really, you're just throwing everything into a crock pot, topping it off when you need it, watch the temperature, you don't want to burn it, and go from there. Add what you think is best. There's no carrots in this one, which will be interesting. But yeah, I'm super excited.
Me too.
All right. Very, very simple. Very, very easy to do. And well worth your time because it makes your next soups, your stews, just, it's otherworldly different.
Yes. So we encourage you to try it.
Yeah. All right. We are all done.
Yay!
I should have counted up how many cups this made, but I think it was around 8. So each one of these holds about 3, I think.
Yeah, about.
Yeah. So we are all done. We got quite a bit of stock out of it. We're going to freeze a couple of them. We're going to put 2 of them in our fridge, and we're taking one to our friends George and Betsy tomorrow. So yeah, each one of these will make a huge amount.
Yes.
Of stew, or whatever we decide to make with it. But yeah, as far as a master stock goes, this is so tasty this time around. So in the description of the video, I will post all of the ingredients that we used. And again, a lot of this is to taste. So you're gonna wanna taste as you go along, and you can kind of invent things yourself.
That's right, that's the fun of it.
But very, very easy to do and well worth your time. It's gonna elevate your stews and soups a lot.
Yes.
Very, very good stuff. All right, guys, Good luck. Have fun. We'll see you later.